Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. Sportsball Talk Show. Every week, we are correct. There is a lot to talk about today. Joined by Gian. It's pretty much about the Super Bowl, but there's so many things to talk about. Before we get into our analysis, I want to say two things. Never doubt either my or Gion's sayings. All right? Here's what happened. We both were correct, but the game screwed us. All right? Gian last week said, hey, Miles Sanders is going to have a fumble. He did. The stupid refs called it back. So I'm counting that as a Gian correct because they fumbled. I'm going to give that to you, Gian. You accurately predict that. And I said last week the correct score will be Chiefs winning 37-34. I was off by 1 point each. It was 38-35. Obviously, if you're betting on the exact score, you know, you wouldn't have won anything being that close. But I was this close. So if you bet on a Chiefs to win by 3 like I had said, then you got it. And if you had said, you know what, you got 34 or 37, I'm going to do one above and one below just to be safe. You know, you bet all of them. You bet 37, 36, and 38 just to be safe. You would have won a lot of money if you listen to me. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't bet because I am in Georgia and it's not legal here. But the second it does, I'm going to start betting on it. And here's the thing. Here's a little philosophy that I want to throw your way, Gian, that I think you will agree on. I've heard it a lot of times, and I think it's solid. If you make an assertion that a bet is a lock, you have to put money on it. You can't just say, oh, this is free money. It's a lock for this, and then not bet money because secretly you don't think it's a lock. You just want to have that credit if it does hit. So I'm not going to sit here and ever make claims that this bet is a lock, this is free, all that stuff, without putting a unit of my own money on it once gambling is legalized in Georgia. For the time being, it is not. But hey, hopefully in the next couple of years, hopefully by the beginning of next NFL season, because I'd love to bet and spend all of my salary on sports betting. But we'll see. Anyway, let me go and hear your qualms at the Super Bowl, because right before we started, Gian said it was the best Super Bowl he's ever seen until the last 2 minutes, and I already know what you're going to say, and I'm going to get angry at you. Angry enough to punch a hole in a TV and smash it. But go ahead, Gian. Let me hear what you have to say.
Yeah, all in all, this was a great Super Bowl. A lot of back and forth between the two teams. The Eagles were up in the half. Mahomes with his magic coming back. That was cool, although I did put my money on the Eagles, and I wish there was a way to put money on Miles Sanders fumbling.
I think you can.
That wasn't a thing on FanDuel. You can on a different sports book, but not on FanDuel. But I didn't know that at the time. It was an awesome Super Bowl. Weird calls. The refs stopped Devontae Smith from getting away with another nasty call. Good. Good, because that would have been really bad. All is dandy. It's a shootout. The Chiefs came out to play in the second half, like they said, and the game was looking very tight at the end. 35-35, a minute and some left. 3rd and 8. Mahomes overthrew. Who was it that he overthrew?
Juju.
I don't remember. It was Juju. Yep, Juju. And then, out of nowhere, and this killed me, and the entire vibe of the room that I was in, and I was at a party, right? Just suddenly died. And I have, and keep in mind, I'm hanging out with people who are both Chiefs fans and Eagles fans. I don't have a horse in this race, neither did they. Fans range from Ravens to Pittsburgh, etc., Jaguars. That call on James Bradbury
Was good. Good call.
Was the most ticky-tack piece of BS I have ever seen in my life. Ever. All right. It's one thing to touch somebody or just keep them there, have your hand there, caress the side, show them some love. It's another thing to claim it's a hold. And it wasn't even the second frame that they showed. It was the first frame. And even in the first frame, it wasn't clear and obvious that was the case.
Yeah, it was.
It was not.
Okay, here's the thing. One, and I'm sure you know this, but I'm going to say it for those listening that don't. James Bradbury said he was holding Juju, and he just hoped they wouldn't call it. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that at all.
Okay, well, that's the biggest thing that's been going around since the thing. The post-game press conference, Bradbury was like, yeah, I held him. I just was hoping that they would let it slide. So that kind of defeats that whole thing right there. But I will agree that it was a soft call. But there's a lot to unpack here. First off, people were getting mad that they called holding on like the little hand on the jersey. Right before that, and I think this is what you were just talking about, he had both arms around his waist. So, like, it's not even just, he just put a hand on a jersey. It was also the wrapping around the waist. Like, it was kind of a piece of both because neither one was a strong holding call, but he did two things that were, it's kind of teetering the line. It's like, okay, they let the first one go because, like, all right, you're kind of holding him, but it didn't really stop Juju from running. The second one you did, it's like, okay, I can't just let you do this. But the thing that I really want to talk about with this, and I'm saying this not just because I'm a Chiefs fan, because I feel, and Gian, I think you could agree with me, that I have integrity when it comes to sports commentating, and I'm not going to agree or disagree with the call simply because it favors a team I like or disfavors a team I don't like. There have been times where refs have been horrible, and I'll admit it. Like with the Bengals-Chiefs game, overall, I think the officiating was bad. There were some, like we said, I agree that there were some bad calls that were made in favor of the Chiefs. I was also arguing that there were some bad calls made in favor of the Bengals, obviously, because I'm trying to be as fair as possible on both sides. But I do agree that there were some bad calls in favor of the Chiefs on the AFC Championship game. There were some bad calls this game in favor of the Eagles. We were talking about it the entire game. We were texting back and forth. Do these refs want the Eagles to win? And we'll get into that in a second. But what I really, really want to talk about with this holding call is that the biggest thing people are saying is that because it was not a strong holding call, it was not obvious, it didn't make Juju fall down, they should have let him play. Like, at this stage of the game, you can't call those. It's the exact opposite. You can't set the precedent that it's potentially a game-deciding play, so we're going to not call penalties. Because what kind of precedent does that set for the future? It's a Super Bowl, and you're going to set the precedent that because it's the potentially last play of the game, this is going to decide the game, we're not going to call anything. Then in the future, they're just going to beat each other up on the last play, and they're not going to be able to call it because you've set that precedent. So they have to you have to go harder in the other direction. You have to make calls when you see them because you can't allow the mindset of, okay, it's the last play of the game, they're going to let it go because they don't want to stop the game or end the game on a call that's going to make everyone mad. The rest don't give a shit if they make everyone mad. They're going to call what they think should be called, whether it's fair or not. Obviously, they make bad calls, and I've said it before. It's different now because they have the reviewable, but when you're on the field and you make a call, you have nothing but your eyes. You can't bring in the fact that there's technology and cameras because when you're on the field, all you have is the referee's eye. So if they see a hold, they throw the flag, and if it's something that can be overturned later, they can do that, but they have to throw the flag if they see something happening. Just like we just talked about that Devontae Smith catch that he got away with a little while ago. It's because what the ref saw, he couldn't see the ball touching the ground. He had his back turned like this. The ref was on that side, so we didn't see the ball hit the ground. And so he didn't call anything because he couldn't see it. That's his own human eyes. I feel like people aren't understanding that as much because we were watching it with a camera on a TV, whereas the rest are just there in person. And of course, there are plays that are reviewable, but not every play is reviewable. And you can't say every play should be reviewable because every game would last 8 hours. And they've tried that before. After the no call, they said, okay, all PIs are reviewable. That was a horrible train wreck, so they took that away. It's just a shitty situation. James Bradbury admitted he was holding. He shouldn't have done that. And also, another thing I've been hearing people say in defense of the refs, not really in defense of them, but in defense of the call, is, and major respect to Jalen Hurts for saying this as well, and major respect to him for other things that we're going to get to in a minute, but he said that he's not going to blame the refs because they shouldn't have been in that position anyway. I understand that the call influenced the game, potentially, because you're also making the assumption with that the Eagles were going to go down and score with that extra 20 seconds left, which maybe they would have. You know, I'm not going to say they wouldn't have. The Eagles were doing very well that game, but you can't assume they would have either. All you robbed them of was a few seconds worth of a chance, maybe an extra play or two, which is very valuable. I'm not going to take away that, but it shouldn't have come down to that play for either team, and you can't really complain about a call that was questionable. It wasn't even a horrible call or a great call. It was just a teetering the line call, because if that's what it comes down to, then you did not prove you were the best team. And I say the same thing to the Chiefs. They won the game, but they didn't win by much. I'm not going to say confidently that they are the best team in the NFL this past season, because the way the NFL and the playoffs are structured in football compared to any other sport is it's just a one-of-one game. It's not a series best of 7 like most sports. That game could have gone either way, and if they had gone to a 7-game series, that would have probably gone to Game 7 because those two teams are so evenly matched. And I can confidently say now that I'm not going to say I doubted the Eagles the whole time, but I was saying I don't know how good they are because they haven't played anyone good. Now that they've played the best team in the league and they were that close to winning and could have won that game on any other day, they could have been either way with that game. The Chiefs and the Eagles were the two best teams, and the Eagles by far for sure deserved that Super Bowl spot. Maybe if the Niners were healthy, they would have won, but either way, I don't think it would have done much good. I think both teams would have put up a great performance, and I think the Eagles very well deserved where they got. And, putting up as great of a game as they did, props to them. And Jalen Hurts especially, like I said, respect to him for, not blaming the refs and being a little baby about it. He said, you know what, there's things we need to fix, and we're going to do that and be back next year. He played a hell of a game. 4 touchdowns and 350 yards Jalen Hurts had between rushing and passing. Incredible. Obviously, he had that one pick six, which is a devastating play, gave the Chiefs 7 points when they really needed to get something going. But aside from that, Jalen Hurts played his ass off. I loved it. I can confidently say that Jalen Hurts is now a top 5 quarterback now that he's played a scheme like Andy Reid's, who is the best coach in the National Football League right now, and he still managed to put up the numbers that he did. One bad play, I'm not going to say eliminates him from that position. So going back to a few weeks ago's argument with my quarterback to take over Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts is definitively up there. It's Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts, I think is probably 3. Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. I'm taking all those over Josh Allen for the next little while. And that's excluding some of the vets like Aaron Rodgers that this current year I'd probably take over him. But we're not going to revisit that argument. I just want to give major props to him because he handled that loss like an absolute man, and they played a hell of a game. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of the Eagles in the coming years. Kenneth Gainwell had an incredible game. Miles Sanders didn't really get the rock much, but Kenneth Gainwell really held his own.
And Boston Scott too, man. So I parlayed Boston Scott, Jalen Hurts over everything. All the Eagles needed to do was win. That would have been the best thing ever. But now knowing what I know, James Bradbury admitting that, all right, then I would say, yeah, you know what? Great game. It was phenomenal. It was the second highest score?
It was 2 points shy of the highest scoring Super Bowl of all time.
2 points away.
The highest was 75, this was 72.
Oh my goodness. Oh. And you know what? Shout out to the Chiefs offensive line. They really were the superstars of the game. Let me tell 100%. You something. Ethan, when you have Sweat, Fletcher Cox, and Hassan Reddick at you at all times, you're not giving Mahomes as much time. That O-line kept giving Mahomes 0.5 to a full second more time than other teams would have had. And that was enough time for Mahomes to pass it to Juju. Juju in the second half of the game was just came out of nowhere. Electric. He was silent all game, and then he just came out of nowhere. Right when you needed him to be clutch, Juju was there. Yeah. They're in the slot, they're in the wide, everything, dude. Juju was great. That O-line was phenomenal. And dude, Mahomes, he got tackled in the leg, and I believe it was before the half. Mm-hmm. Before the half, he got tackled on that same leg. And that man powered through it. I don't know what you gave him, Coach Reed. He must have given him some strong stuff.
They need to drug test Mahomes. Because he had to take something.
They gave him Jordan's secret stuff.
Yeah.
They gave him Michael Jordan's
He had that secret sauce back there in the half. He had that extra time from the Rihanna halftime show, so he's able to get that secret sauce going through, get some sauce going through his veins. Came back second half and lit it up. But with the O-line thing, that's another thing that I really want to give props to, because the Eagles' sack numbers resembled that of the 85 Bears, which is the most notorious NFL defense in history. And the Chiefs not giving up not one sack in the Super Bowl, where these defensive players are playing their asses off. The offensive line played their asses off as well. Mahomes had good pocket presence. Not taking a single sack is unbelievable. And that's a large reason why they won that game, because there was a lot of times where they had some 3rd and long or 3rd and 8, not necessarily 3rd and long, but some 3rd and deep situations, and buying Mahomes time in that pocket really saved them, because if they had taken a sack on any number of those plays and not scored one touchdown, that would have been a very different game. Not even just because of the scoreboard, but the momentum shift would have been huge from a sack. And then the Chiefs' defense played well too. I mean, although they gave up 35 points, they sent the Eagles to have to do a QB sneak so many times that game, because it was 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, and they were going for it. And that's another thing I kind of want to talk about. Some people are calling for a rule change to kind of get rid of the QB sneak, and I want to know what you think about it, Gian. And here's the whole situation. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles succeed every single time they do it. It's always on a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 situation. It kind of eliminates the pressure of a 4th down if you're 4th and short, because the QB sneaks work. And now it works with the Eagles more so than others, but it's because the Eagles do something interesting that the other teams don't do as much for some reason, and people are saying this should be a potential rule change. What basically happens is the quarterback gets the ball, and then everyone shoves him from behind, and every single time they get that yard. And so people are saying, what if they do a rule where when you're doing a QB sneak, you can't have your entire skills group or offensive line just shoving your quarterback forward? because that almost guarantees you the, yard or two that you need and kind of gets rid of the, potential scare of a fourth down. What do you think about that, Gian?
Personally, I think that it should stay the same. I'm going to be honest with you, because here's the thing. There are many times where to get an inch an extra yard, even out in the field, you have your tight ends and your wide receiver shoving that one receiver that has the ball, or your running back just to eke out some yardage, even if it's in a close match as well. So I can't see why not in this scenario. If you can get it, sure, why not? At that point, just pack all your O linemen right there and then have them push the other way. Well, what's stopping all the O linemen from stacking up and pushing the other way? They can still do that. It's not smart and it's not savvy to, just because, maybe I might just run the other way, and then, dang, you don't have no defensive backs or linebackers to catch them if they ended up going to the sides rather than going straight down the gut. However, if you know that the Eagles, who I think only 3 times this year have not made a QB sneak, I believe it was.
No, I think they're
the stat.
undefeated completely with QB sneaks, I thought.
Yeah, I point is they have an exceptionally high percentage success rate in that. If you know that that's what they're going to do and they're known for that, I don't see the harm in trying to counter that with getting all your linebackers and O linemen right there and then countering them there. And then at that point, it's just whoever wins that tug of war. You guys, it was at one point, I believe, I saw one of the linemen jump over the line, jump over all the Eagles dudes just to try to get to Hurts. And you can do that. If these guys can grab them and they can take them down that way, yeah, go for it. I don't see why that wouldn't.
Here's the reason that wouldn't work. Jason Kelce is too good of a center.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, but in all seriousness, I agree with you completely. I don't think this needs to be a rule change. Just because the Eagles are good at something doesn't mean the rules need to be changed. I think it kind of addresses a bigger problem with NFL fans where every time something that they don't like happens, they call for a rule change, which is annoying and it's prissy and shut up. Just because your team can't stop a good team doesn't mean the rules need to be changed. If the Eagles found their forte, which is running the rock on 4th and 1, why should the rules stop them? Why should the refs say that's not allowed? If they got it, they're going to do it. Try to stop them. You're going to fail every time, but I don't really see a reason why trying to fight for your extra space is wrong, because here's the other thing. If, let's say, Isaiah Pacheco was running and he got a 10-yard run, he's teetering the goal line, his whole team's going to shove him forward when there's 3 defensive linemen shoving him back, right? I don't know why it would be different just because it's a quarterback sneak than a regular run in which that is allowed, or a tight end or a wide receiver that's getting shoved over the line because they're this close to a touchdown. So I don't think the rules need to be changed. I think people need to stop requesting the rules be changed when something doesn't go their way. I think it's annoying that the Eagles do that from a viewer's perspective, because it's like, okay, why are they just give them the freaking yard. We know they're going to get it, and it's a little bit boring. But at the same time, like I said, that doesn't mean the rules need to be changed just because I'm not enjoying myself watching it. They have a scheme and it works. Let them keep doing it. But going back to the refs thing, I wanted to talk about as well. We were talking about the whole game, some horrible calls in favor of the Eagles, thinking the refs were biased. I want to talk about 2 in specific because they pair up together like peanut butter and jelly. The Miles Sanders fumble getting called back, which resulted in a fumble recovery by Nick Bolton and a second defensive touchdown by Nick Bolton and the Chiefs, which probably would have secured him a defensive Super Bowl MVP. And then that call that they said Dallas Goedert did catch the ball, that makes no sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because I understand, as a Chiefs fan, obviously I was hoping they would just allow the touchdown, but I kind of understand why they didn't do that. It's like, okay, he didn't have the ball for long enough for it to really count. But then why did Dallas Goedert have the ball long enough for it to count as a catch? My point with my gripe and the whole bitching at the refs in that scenario was you can't allow one and not allow the other. You have to be consistent, because they said that people were saying, the way they phrased it is Miles Sanders didn't make a football move once he had the ball to show possession and securing and all that thing. But Dallas Goedert didn't either. And so you either have to allow the fumble and subsequent touchdown by the Chiefs or not allow that completed pass by Dallas Goedert. Now, obviously, one is a lot more important than the other, because one resulted in a defensive touchdown and the other just resulted in an incompletion. But the point still stands of the whole thing about momentum and getting that first down, being able to chew more time off the clock, being able to go down and drive, potentially score a touchdown. There's a whole slew of outcomes that could potentially come from a bad call like that. And like I said, I'm not going to say that one call was bad and one call was good, but one of them is BS. I don't really care which one. Because I agree that they were basically the same in terms of whether or not they had possession or not. I could agree with that they were pretty much the same in terms of their securing of the ball and what they did afterwards. But you can't allow one and not the other. And so we were talking back and forth during the game about, the refs being in favor of the Eagles. Not serious. I don't think the refs were rigging in favor of the Eagles, obviously, because they lost, but obviously as well because the refs don't do that. But it's kind of being overshadowed by that holding call at the end, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring that up, because there were some bad calls in favor of the Eagles throughout the whole game, but because that one holding call at the very end that James Bradbury admitted he did, people are up in arms. I think it's mostly because it's the Chiefs. If it had been the Bills, they wouldn't give a shit. If it had been the Bengals, they wouldn't give a shit. But people are so pissed off at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs because they're replacing Tom Brady and the Patriots that they're hating them as much as they hated Tom Brady and the Patriots a little bit ago. And I want to publicly make an apology to Tom Brady and the Patriots because I hated you for decades. But now that it's my team that has taken your throne, I'm sorry that I hated you, because now that I'm in this position of glory, hey, not my fault we're just that good, Hey, and that ain't my fault we got that dog in them. All right? So I'm sorry, Tom Brady and the Patriots, for hating you for so long just because you were good. But I think the Chiefs have secured that position. I think what you said a couple weeks ago was that if they go and win this ring, then yeah, you'll give them that dynasty. I think this kind of
they're established now. They're established now. They're the next. They're the new Patriots. Let's be honest here. The Chiefs are only going to get better from here on out. You have Andy Reid for a little bit. You still got Kelsey for a long time. Mahomes is sealed in with that contract.
Isaiah Pacheco.
They're going to make sure that they support him. Isaiah Pacheco. Oh my God.
He's a rookie.
What a monster.
He's a rookie.
I bet the over on him too, and I got that. All I needed was the Eagles to win. And I would have hit a jackpot. But that Isaiah Pacheco, lock him in for your fantasy drafts next year. He's going to be an excellent up high tier. Low tier RB1, high tier RB2.
I'm taking him in round 2 if he's available, and other top tier guys aren't. I think he's going to be a top 10 RB next season. Up. Because here's the thing. Oh my gosh, I love Pacheco. Mahomes did not throw for that many yards in the Super Bowl, and Pacheco really was the core of that offense. And so now the Chiefs going to be even better next year, because not only do they have Patrick Mahomes, who just on his passing game alone are they the best team in the league, they also have a running back that you can feed the ball to 15, 20 times a game if you need to, that is going to make good runs, that is going to get pressure on the run game, going to get touchdowns when they need to, break through these barriers of tough linemen to get that short yardage when they need it on third and shorts. So the Chiefs are going to be nasty, man. The fact that they finally got that running back they needed. They tried it with Damian Williams. They tried it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire for 2 years. None of it really worked. Kareem Hunt was good, but he wasn't really a top 15, top 10 running back. But Pacheco is going to be. Some of the runs he made during the Super Bowl were disgusting. He was dragging defenders an extra 10 yards. But I don't even remember what my original point was. The Chiefs are a dynasty right now. And I'm going to say this, and at this point I don't think there's going to be any arguments. Mahomes if Mahomes retired today, he'd be a Hall of Famer already.
Oh yeah, easily. And then another thing to point out: had C.J. Gardner-Johnson not came in as hard as he did to hit him full helmet, full body on Pacheco's legs, that would have been a touchdown easily. Pacheco cleared everybody. He would have had a touchdown right then and there. Oh man, what a great guy! And you know who else was great, Ethan? Kadarius Toney, and then just my fellow Gator, go Gators!
That punt
Kadarius Toney,
holy crap!
Oh my God! Sealed the deal with that. Let me tell you something, man. That Kadarius Toney, I knew he was slated for potential. I wasn't sure if the Giants were the best fit. Now that he's with the Chiefs,
and Andy Reid, because he was probably the most in terms of just
their special teams was phenomenal.
In terms of just skill alone, I think Kadarius Toney was the most skilled receiver coming out of his class. Obviously, production is not there yet, but it will get there. But skill wise, he is a monster, and he proved that because he had a touchdown on a one catch 5-yard pass. That was due to the good play calling of Andy Reid, because that scheme of a fake jet sweep and then reversing it to drag the cornerback and the safety back, and then he just has a wide open lane. obviously, I mean, Kadarius Toney's good, but that play isn't what makes him that guy. It's the punt return because he starts running this way, brings all the defenders this way, one step on the worst football field in the NFL, the field where Kyler Murray, walking down the field, tore his ACL because the turf is so bad, cuts back and runs all the way down the sideline, gets good blocking set up, everything, runs it down to, the 10 or 5 yard line, sets the Chiefs up for an easy touchdown. I mean, holy shit, Kadarius Toney, dude. He's the future of that team. Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, they got a lot of young studs on that team. And like I said, you still got Travis Kelce for a little while. You could re-sign Juju and MVS if you want to. I say keep Marquez Valdes-Scantling because I think he proved against the Bengals that he can do it. I don't have a problem with Juju. I just don't think it's probably going to be worth the cap unless they don't really need to spend money anywhere else. But the Chiefs are going to be disgusting. Yeah, and they already have a dynasty. 2-time MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 3 appearances, 5 for AFC Championship games in just 5 years. And every single metric for a quarterback in his first 5 years, Patrick Mahomes is broken. Every single one of them. Touchdowns, yards, everything. The only reason that there is some not hitting of those numbers is because his rookie year, his first year, he did not play at all. And so there are some stats that count that as his actual first year, but if you just count when he started playing, then he beats every single number by a large margin. Winning MVP his first season, winning MVP this first year, or this current year, first quarterback or first team to have a MVP and Super Bowl winner on their team since the 90s, first team to break the coin toss, the coin toss, what's the word? The bad luck, I guess. There's some term for it. I don't know what it. I can't. It's almost on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, the curse.
The curse. Yes, of the coin toss winner losing the ring, losing it all in the end. That's happened the past 7 years. In 2014, Mahomes broke it. I mean, 2-time MVP and 2-time Super Bowl champion by age 27 is incredible. Better than most quarterbacks that have ever played the game. He's in the likes of Joe Montana, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. I think that's the only guys who have achieved those numbers. Every other great that you can ever mention did not get anywhere near that. So he's in an elite group already at age 27. So while I was talking last week, and I still think this is a valid point of Brady breaking the expectation and setting them too high, I think that winning 7 rings is unattainable for pretty much anyone. There's a chance Mahomes does it, man. At this point, as good as he's looking, and they still have him for a lot more years for pretty cheap compared to where the quarterback market's going. They have this rookie running back that's going to be there for hopefully a long time. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt. Hopefully he stays with the Chiefs. They have an incredible and incredibly bright future. They're going to be a disgusting team for a long time. Sure.
Oh no, and that's a given. I'm actually looking forward to hating Mahomes and out of love. I hate you out of love. You're just so good. Let's be honest here, man. And the grit, just the grit of that entire team, man. It's not only is it inspiring, it's just great to see them just go out there. Even when they're down, pull them back up, pull themselves up back by their bootstraps. Just awesome in all ends. And what was another thing I wanted to talk about? What else is there to say right now than the Chiefs are just absolute monsters and they're just going to dominate the NFL for the next 10 years? Let's be honest here.
Yeah, I do want to come back to the Eagles though, because like I said before, they played a hell of a game, but I really want to. I really want to highlight what they did. Jalen Hurts playing his ass off. The defense playing a really good first quarter and then a really bad second quarter, which kind of highlights Andy Reid's ability to just kind of flip on a dime during halftime if they need to switch up schemes, and it worked. But the Eagles are going to be dangerous. They're going to win that division next year unless they have major injuries. They're going to be in the NFC Championship game next year, probably against the 49ers again because they're looking good still unless some major things happen in the offseason. But the last thing I want to talk about with the Super Bowl, and then if you think of anything else, let me know, because there's probably some stuff I'm forgetting because there's just so much here. Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, man. Kelce Bowl?
Kelce versus
Travis won.
Kelce Bowl.
And I just want to talk about how great it was watching them embrace after the game. Travis going up to him, saying, I love you, brother. Thanks for everything. And then Jason's like, dude, congratulations. Like, go celebrate, man. You deserve it. You earned it. I love you. Family, stuff like that. It was great. It's great to see players have that sportsmanship. Of course, we knew that was going to happen because they're two class act gentlemen. But it was nice to see, especially on camera, getting that emotional moment with them. One more Super Bowl thing I want to mention that was really weird. Did you see when they pointed the camera towards the crowd and you see Roger Goodell, Donna Kelce, and Damar Hamlin sitting next to each other in the stands? Did you see that?
No, I did not. I might have missed it. There must have been some commercial.
Yeah, it was Roger Goodell, the commissioner, Donna Kelce, the mom of Travis and Jason, and then Damar Hamlin. They were just sitting there. Their seats were next to each other. What a weird combination. What the hell do those three have to talk about?
And DeMar, I mean, they showcased DeMar in the beginning because he was the main tragic story, which is now a heroic story. He's back now and he's fully healthy, which is phenomenal. But him with Roger Goodell and Donna, that's a little weird. Donna's got 2 horses in the race. I don't. Goodell's here to make some guap, and then you have DeMar Hamlin. I'm just Donna
Kelsey has her kids playing. Roger wants that guap, and then DeMar's there. I mean, obviously,
DeMar's there. His team lost,
but I just don't know why that combination of Travis Kelsey's mom, Roger Goodell, and DeMar Hamlin. That's just weird. People were talking about it. I just forgot to mention it. And then the other thing is the best commercial from the Super Bowl. I guess we should talk about that for the 3 people that prefer the commercials over the actual game. The best commercial was the Tubi commercial. Did you see that one?
Which one? They had 3 commercials.
The one where one where you thought the game was being turned off.
Ah, yes, that was a good one. It was
showing commentating, and then it just pulls up the thing, and then it scrolls over and goes to Tubi. Here's the thing: I wasn't even watching on a smart TV. I was watching on basically a cheap 20-year-old monitor, and that I had my laptop hooked up to, and I still thought, who the hell is sitting on the remote? Mind you, the TV that I bought doesn't even have a TV remote with it, so I was like, I didn't know what was going on. It was the TV that I bought for the purposes of smashing at the end. So that's why I was watching on a cheap TV. I'm not actually broke. You know, I don't actually need to watch on that TV. But yeah, I thought something was going on, even though it was an impossibility given the situation that I had set up. But it was funny. That was a good commercial. Rihanna's halftime show was pretty good too.
Oh yeah, no, Rihanna. Hey, I think she's pregnant.
She is pregnant.
That is the talk of the town.
I've seen a lot of memes about Rihanna's baby during the Super Bowl show, and it's just someone getting jostled around, getting thrown around and stuff.
Oh yeah, she was all. I saw memes. You know how they had all the platforms there, no, Rihanna, watch out. And then they had Smash Bros. Characters on the platforms about to take her out.
Oh, that's good.
That was a good one. But yeah, no, it was a great performance. Honestly, that's probably one of the best performances in a very long time.
I think so too. It wasn't awkward.
And then sometimes we forget how long. Yeah, it wasn't awkward. It were all hits that everybody enjoyed, and it wasn't too crazy. I remember the weekends a couple years back. I think it was in Tampa's. That was a little weird with all the mirrors and
the conglomerate of rappers last year. It was supposed to be Kendrick, and then everyone else came out too.
Yeah.
The thing that I like with this one compared to the other ones is that it was Rihanna's show, and they let it be her show. They didn't bring in 10 special guests to come sing with her. They just let it be her show, and that worked. And then also they made it. While their performance was great, they focused on her singing more so than everything else going on, whereas stuff like The Weeknd and Kendrick's performance had a lot going on that made you focus on other things than just the singing. And so I just thought it was solid, man. If they could just do this formula every year, get a good singer, let them sing, and don't ruin it with 13 special guests. Rihanna's a big name, man. She can pull her own crowd, just like Kendrick can in The Weeknd. They didn't need people to come in and join them for songs. But it was a great performance. So I liked it.
Do you think it was a gender reveal? Because it was she was wearing all pink.
I did not.
I don't know.
I didn't think about that, and I don't want to answer that question either, because this is a sports ball talk show, Gian, not a Rihanna gender guess.
You're right. You're right. Hey, but she was doing it at the Super Bowl.
Although what I did see was funny was she had her outfit was very similar to an outfit I guess Kanye wore a couple years ago, the full red puffy, and then she played a Kanye West song. So Kanye West.
So that was interesting.
People were thinking that Kanye West is supposed to be a feature and come out with her, and then all the stuff with Kanye that's happened the past few months, they had to cancel that. But we're not going to talk about Kanye. But that was just funny to think about.
But anyway, yeah. All in all, the Eagles were phenomenal. That Eagles receiving core is only going to get better. Jalen Hurts is only going to get better.
Dallas Goedert.
I'm curious to see where Jason. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert
played a game.
Is great tight end, dude. And he had some ridiculous catches. I'm curious though. Is this the last we'll see of Jason Kelce? And if so, who's going to go under center for the Eagles?
I think
because he's getting up there, and he's got kids on the way.
I think he probably retires. Although he just lost the Super Bowl, he's also won one before already, so it's not like he needs that to complete his career. He's already one of the best centers that have ever played the game. I think he probably retires. And then, how do you replace him? That's actually a concern for the Eagles next year if they lose Jason Kelce, because he's an integral part of that offense. He is a massive piece of the secure run game that they can have. And another thing that's going to kind of hurt the Eagles next year is they're losing their offensive coordinator.
That's right. Didn't he say, where was he going?
The Colts hired him as their new head coach.
Colts, yeah.
The
Colts.
Hey, the Colts are going to be nasty next year because think about what they were able to do with Miles Sanders, and now he's got Jonathan Taylor in a run-first offense. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's going to have another 2,000-yard season, assuming he's healthy. So the Colts are going to be better with that. I think that's a good head coaching hire, and I think that the Eagles are probably going to be fine because Nick Sirianni did a lot of the play calling anyway. But they are going to need to hire a new offensive coordinator, and I think it's going to be a pretty sweet spot for people to go. I think people are going to want to go to the Eagles because they have such a talented roster. They're already in a good spot to win, so someone can just kind of jump in there, make sure nothing goes wrong, essentially, and they can go back to another Super Bowl. So I don't think it's really going to hurt them that much unless they just make an absolutely atrocious hire. Same thing with Jason Kelce retiring, unless they just get an absolute trash can at center. Like, if they get someone that's at least decent enough to protect Jalen Hurts, I think they'll still be fine. You know, obviously it's not going to be as good, but they'll still be good enough to go on a run like they did this year.
Yeah, no. And like we mentioned earlier, I thought this was a great test of the Eagles' defense because they have had such a and no, this isn't to take away from the Eagles, but they did have arguably one of the easier schedules. This test really showed them that they could hold their own for a good amount, but they are still susceptible. But I'm thinking next year they're going to solidify, make sure that they cover any holes that they got, and make use of the players that they have, because on paper their defense was phenomenal, especially that defensive front. They shut down the run typically, and unless you have somebody like Isaiah Pacheco, or I think an equivalent to him would probably be like a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb, just because considering their bell cow running backs, it's gonna be interesting to see how the Eagles defense pans out next season as well.
Yeah, 100%. They have a lot of draft capital too, so the Eagles will be good next season.
Oh yeah,
for sure. So will the Chiefs, obviously, but the Eagles for sure are going to be dangerous for a while, especially with the Cowboys climbing down. Don't really know what's going to happen with the Commanders, but the Giants, I think the Giants are going to be good next season too. That NFC East division is probably going to be pretty good for a little while, for the next couple of years. Yeah. But I don't really have anything else on the Super Bowl, unless you got something.
No, that's all I got. So I guess we'll wrap this one up. So stay frosty, my friends. Take it easy.